Welcome to the very first episode of 2026. This one has been on my heart for months, not because I wanted it to be perfect, but because this year feels different. And it's not really about sprinting into January. It's about becoming the version of yourself who can hold on to everything that you spent building last year, but stepping into your new next level. So, in this episode, I'm walking you through what 2025 taught me, why I'm not rushing the year ahead, and how to make this year your becoming year with structure and space and real intention. So, if you're ready to create a life first business that feels as good as it looks, hit subscribe, tap like, and leave a comment with the word that you're carrying into 2026. And let's make this your most aligned year yet. Hi, friends. Welcome back to the Crush the Rush podcast and the very first episode of 2026. If you are listening to this live, you can see we still have all the holiday decor going because my number one goal for January is to not sprint, to really ease into the new year. And so, in true Crush the Rush fashion, I have been thinking about this episode for months, not because I felt like it had to be perfect, because it's never going to be, but also I wanted to make sure I was really intentional about what is the message that you want to share the very first episode of 2026. And what I walked away with was, you don't have to put everything into today's the first day of everything, right? So this episode, I want it to feel intentional. I want it to feel spacious. And it feels like a year where a lot of us, myself included, are stepping into a new version of ourselves, which I'm excited about. So if you follow any sort of astrology or symbolism, 2026 is the year of the horse, and 2025 was the year of the snake. Now, if you know me well, I despise snakes. Like, I have a really, really huge fear of them. And so when I think of that and I think about 2025, I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So horses feel a little safer to me. And ideally, horses represent movement and leadership and stepping into power with a little more clarity and confidence. And so it's sort of like stepping into becoming who you want to be. And so I want to really walk into 2026 with that theme. And that theme being 2025 taught me that non-negotiables carry forward. And so let's talk about what this really means and how you can think about your non-negotiables for 2026. And so, if I'm being completely candid, 2025 felt hard. And I was talking to a friend and I was sharing, we did a lot of cool things in 2025. We traveled a ton. We went to Costa Rica and Hawaii and Sedona and the Grand Canyon. And when you look at those places, how magical are those? Those are really, really amazing, scenic, spiritual places. And that part was really cool. But I felt like our year was like a mountain. It was like up and down and up and down and up and down. In 2025, we rebuilt almost every part of our business, our team, our funnels, our programs. We had so many client wins. Our community and our podcast all got to glow up, all good things. But it felt so extreme. It felt like one day I was literally standing at the top of the Grand Canyon, and the next day we're deep into funnels and sixth grade and parenting challenges. And I was just like, wow, this is a lot. So it was a year of rebuilding, of restructuring, a year of transition. And so I haven't really picked a word for 2026 yet, but I'm sort of imagining this horse, galloping into the sun or towards the sun. I love the beach. I love sunshine. So 2026 is my becoming year. Not maybe a gap year, not a rebuilding year, but becoming. It's the place where everything I rebuilt is settling. It's like the dust is settling. We can see where we're going. We can see the horizon, right? It's the year where it becomes space instead of speed. And it's the year where we're shifting from building structure, because we built it all, right, to stepping into, okay, let's just like enjoy it. Like, let's enjoy the view. So for me, the becoming year, as we're calling it, isn't about doing more. It's really about choosing differently. And so it's a year where I want to like stop forcing things. If it doesn't feel good, we're not going to do it. We're not just going to sprint because we can. We're going to sprint because we want to. And I'm not going to do everything on January 1st, hence the Christmas tree still being up. And instead, really focusing on clarity and space and, growing into this next version of our business and of myself. And I don't know what that looks like. And so if I'm being really raw and honest, in a very like unholly fashion, we don't have 2026 all mapped out. And it's the first time in a really long time where I have sat down to do it multiple times. I blocked it out on the calendar. I sat down to write it out. And I was like, nope, it's not the time. It's not here yet. Like, it's just, I don't want to force it. I don't want to force things. And so I have ideas. I have notes. I have the next month planned. I have what I would call like little sparks or whispers, but nothing feels locked in yet. And instead of pushing past it and forcing myself to do things, I'm not. I'm going to respect it. And that feels really awkward and weird. It feels awkward and weird to share it. It feels awkward and weird to not have everything like mapped out to a T. And so for me, last year was the first year where I treated January as the true winter season that it is. And if you're listening, I would encourage you to say like, okay, Holly, like what's the point of this episode? Well, one, I just wanted to give you a behind the scenes that like not everyone starts on January 1st. But two, I think it's really interesting to understand the astrology of what this year means and the year of the horse. And three, to really honor how you're feeling. And so January is not a sprint for us. January is going to be slow, and it's really hard for me to do that, but it helped me so much last year. So I'm using January as what I call like a recalibration month. I don't know what's going to come out on the other side of it, but I will tell you my ex-corporate self feels very, very uncomfortable with this, like very uncomfortable. But I know that rest is a strategy. I know that stillness is a strategy. I know that creativity is a strategy. I know that taking care of myself first is a strategy. I know that clarity comes when you pause. And every time I do, something amazing comes out of it. So honestly, this whole podcast is a reminder that you don't have to have your entire year figured out on January 1st. I think when this airs, it's going to be January 5th. You don't have to have it all figured out. Not this year, not ever. And so one of the things that I am doing, because I don't have a rigid plan right now, is working on key non-negotiables. So for me, it's like, okay, well, we still have to keep the lights on of the business. Like I still have responsibilities. It's not like we're just like not doing anything, right? So what are the non-negotiables that I can focus on until I know like what's the next step for us? And so my first non-negotiable is the podcast is the portal. So this show has forever been the rock of the business. It's not just content. It is the biggest networking tool we have. It's our most efficient content engine. It's the most aligned way that I can show up in business because I can talk to you. I can do it on my schedule. My girls are at school. I'm doing it before they get home. Like it's so easy for me to just get on here and share. And so 2026 is going to be the year of like really doubling down on what works, and the podcast is what works. So non-negotiable number one is the podcast gets my attention. The podcast is the portal. The non-negotiable number two is one email a week minimum. So you guys know how much I love email. If you're in any of our programs, I talk about it all the time. We've created bots. We launched our brand new Better Together newsletter. And this has been a really cool project. It was very organic. It has grown through Kit's networking features. So Kit is the email service provider that we use. And we make the email newsletter, the Better Together newsletter, public through their networking platform every week. I'd like to think that they're thinking of this as like a Substack kind of thing, but it doesn't have the community aspect behind it. It's more of like subscribe and recommend. But it's grown tremendously from that. And so, yes, the newsletter is staying. It's been really fun to write, and it's one email a week, no matter what. So it's simple, it's sustainable, it's strategic. We've been playing around with really cool templates. We have a newsletter sponsor now. Like, it's been really fun. So non-negotiable number 2 is the Better Together newsletter. So podcast, Better Together newsletter, that's what's keeping the lights on. Non-negotiable number 3 is one in-person networking event a month. You guys have heard my stories where I make up these rules that have really transformed our business and our life. One of the rules, as an example, being we should travel once a quarter as a family. We've been to now 11 countries in almost 4 years, which is mind-blowing. Another non-negotiable rule that I created a couple years ago, I think it was 2022, was to be on as many podcasts as I possibly could. And I think it ended up in over 300 in a year. So these little rules, these non-negotiables really have been needle movers. And so I have done this one specifically before, but that is one in-person networking event a month. So I've done this on a local level. I've done this on a national level. And so I don't know what my next thing is yet, but I know it involves people and humans and real connection and real rooms. And so I'm really leaning into community and people, conversations, right? So if I can keep the podcast going, make that be like our sun, right? And then the Better Together newsletter, which leads to one networking event a month. And then last but not least, our last non-negotiable is my CEO week schedule. It's really interesting. As I was sort of brainstorming this podcast episode, I went back and listened to our CEO week challenge. If you haven't taken this challenge, it's hollymariehaines.com/CEO week. It has been around since 2022. It is still the same format because it is so right on when it comes to how to structure your week and how to create structure without rigidity. So my goal is to continue to really focus on that CEO week schedule. And so it hasn't failed me once yet. So I'm like, if it's working, let's keep going. CEO day is Monday. That's been tried and true for years. Podcast Tuesday. I am leaning into switching it up a little bit, and that is a learning and community Wednesday. So I have learn, journal, sauna, read. There's something fun that I can fit in. If there's a community event I can fit in, that's Wednesday. Strategy and catch up and one-on-one clients on Thursday. And then my favorite, no meeting Friday. No meeting Friday saves me every time. And so these are my non-negotiables, they have to happen no matter what. But also, I hope that there's some creativity and space worked into these that will lead to whatever the next thing is, whatever that becoming step is. And so if you're okay, that sounds cool, I want you to think about this framework is not just mine, right? It can be yours too. And here's a really simple way to make it yours. Think about your theme, right? So I mentioned at the beginning, I was really leaning into this horse year kind of theory and riding a horse in this magical place towards the sun. That's my vision. So come up with your vision. What does that look like? I don't know what the outcome of this is going to be, but I know that that's the vision. So becoming is mine. What's yours? Is it ease? Is it clarity? Is it expansion? Is it boundaries? Is it momentum, trust, alignment? Just pick a theme. It doesn't have to be a word. It doesn't have to be a vision board. And then think about your non-negotiables. So no giant goals, no resolutions, just non-negotiables. These are the anchors in your year. So what's going to keep you supported? For me, that's the CEO week schedule because it has space for me to be creative and have fun. What's going to keep you grounded? What's going to keep you moving, right? And then think about, what are you not doing? What are you letting go of? What are you not forcing this year? And what are you done carrying? What are you you know what? I'm just letting this go. And then choose your rhythm. So, I like to think in things of quarters. This is my plan for Q1. It might change for Q2. I might change up my non-negotiables. I don't know. They feel pretty solid to me and they feel doable. not over the top where I feel overwhelmed about 2026, but like, hey, this is my focus. It's going to lead to the next best thing. And then next quarter, we're going to adjust. So January is very intentional for me. It is a season of rest. Winter is like cozy and soulful, and let's recharge for the next season. And so as we step into 2026, the year of the horse, I want to just give you permission that maybe you don't need everything right now, but maybe you need to feel a little more deeply. Like you don't have to have your new brand on January 1st. You don't have to have the perfect plan, and you don't have to sprint because the internet says so. If you want to sprint, great. If you don't have to. And so I'm leaning into leading a little bit differently, planning a little bit differently, still sticking to our pillars that we teach, but really becoming more myself and becoming whatever this like next level is. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to let my boundaries answer it. I'm going to let my habits answer it. I'm going to let my presence answer it, and claiming this as my becoming year. And so I'm very grateful to walk in alignment with you into this next year. And I'm excited for you to really think about what is your theme? What is or are your non-negotiables? What is your rhythm? And how can we just make January feel really, really amazing?